Hi, today I am going to talk about this book. It's called My Sister, the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Braithwaite. Oyinkan Braithwaite is a Nigerian British author, and this is her debut novel, and I think this was published in 2017. This book was actually the third book that I finished this year, and so far I've been making single book videos for all of the books that I finished, but just in case if you're wondering whether I'll do this for all the other books that I'm going to read onwards, well, I don't think so. Unless if I have the stamina to do, single book videos for all of the books that I read and will read this year. I don't think that I'm going to do that. But who knows what will happen in the future, right? I mean, these days I've been somewhat, I wouldn't say really energetic, but I do have, some level of energy that sort of allows me to at least come up with, 3 single book reviews. Well, actually, no, 4 single book videos in a row. So, yeah. Sort of mirrors the kinds of videos that I made when I just started making booktube, because I remembered in 2020 my first few videos were all single book review videos. Although those books were, those videos were spoilery, so if you want to check out those videos, consider yourself warned, because first they are kind of crappy and second they are really spoilery. So yeah, I warned you. Anyway, back to this one. This is My Sister, the Serial Killer, and this book, even though it's actually about 200 pages long, I actually finished this book within 3 hours. Okay, I mean, that's exaggerating. 3.5 hours. So, this book sort of caused me to have a little bit of just a minor identity crisis, considering that I call myself sluggish reader, but then I finished a 200-page book in 3 hours. So, I don't know. I'm starting to have self-doubt right now, but whatever. Anyway, I was really pleased that I finished this book because I thought that the book was really entertaining. This book is somewhat of a light read, and something that you could read while you're relaxing or on a holiday or enjoying your weekend, or just pretty much enjoying yourself, although it does contain some kind of bloody and gory contents, but at the same time something about the tone sort of offsets that. So, but before that, before I talk about all of those things, what is this book about? So, My Sister, the Serial Killer is about this woman. Her name is Korede, and she lives in Lagos, Nigeria. And this book is set in modern times, sort of like, the age of WhatsApp, because apparently WhatsApp is referenced in this book. So, Korede works as a nurse at a hospital, and she has a younger sister. And one evening, her sister calls her to tell her that, to ask for her help, because apparently, the sister's boyfriend has just died, stabbed by her sister, stabbed by Ayola, apparently in self-defense. But the thing is, this is the third time that this has happened, and it is obviously really suspicious. Korede herself is already suspicious of how come 3 boyfriends in a row have died because Ayola stabbed them in self-defense, right? But at this point, it's already 3 times, and Korede is just sort of tired, and she just goes along with the sister's request, and helps her to get rid of the body and clean up the murder scene in order to protect her sister. So yeah, those are dealt with, and Korede also supports her sister in terms of how to show up in public, how to show herself in public, not to get like really happy in social media, considering that her boyfriend just died and sort of a thing. So already we kind of know that Korede's sister is someone a bit, someone who seems like someone who seems kind of spoiled, and at the same time a little bit sociopathic. But then again, even we as the readers don't really know what really happens to these boyfriends. Did they actually become violent before their death, or was Ayola really a serial killer? So moving on, Ayola one day actually comes to the hospital where Korede works, and over there is a doctor whom Korede really likes. But the doctor sees Ayola, and the doctor literally just falls in love with Ayola. And Ayola just sort of takes in the doctor as her boyfriend, and now Korede is really worried whether, what will happen to this doctor that she really has the hots for. And so now, this book sort of takes us towards the direction in which Korede would have to make a choice eventually between the doctor and her sister. And I feel that this novel, the way that it takes us towards that is it's kind of interesting. And obviously I'm not going to tell you what the choice, what the decision Korede will make, but I think given the details of Korede and Ayola's childhood that is also sprinkled throughout this book, it sort of makes sense that Korede would make something makes that kind of decision eventually. Now, I'm not going to also tell you about the details of what really happened in Korede and Ayola's past, but safe to say that things that happened was kind of unpleasant, and those things sort of gives us a little bit of context as to why Ayola behaves in certain ways and why Korede behaves in her the way that she does in the novel itself. But at the same time, the history of these characters, it also sort of gives us a little bit of commentary in terms of the standings of women in society, the effects of trauma. And I think that it's a really wonderful commentary sort of being interwoven within the structure of this story itself. So those are kind of like really wonderful stuff about this book. I said earlier something about bloody content. Yes, of course, because there are people dying in this book, so of course there will be bloody content, some gory scenes, some particularly violent scenes involving weapons such as knives. And so if you are triggered by that, just sort of watch out, think about whether you want to read this book, because those are quite vividly shown in the story. But at the same time, those kinds of elements are in our real life are sort of seen as something serious, right? It's seen as something that should be taken seriously. And but here in this book, the tone is actually quite flippant. And there is almost kind of like this sense that the story almost takes those violence in quite a light way and almost slapstick, that it sort of makes all of these violent things appear as if they're nothing, as if they're just something that is not serious at all. And I feel that part of this book sort of lends it this air, as if it's some kind of a fairy tale vibe, if you know what I mean. As if it is not exactly grounded in reality. So that's another aspect of this book which I find really interesting, because many parts of this book is about the characters, doing things that we in real life do. We work, we quarrel with our family. We sleep, we eat. All those characters do that. But at the same time, the way that it treats really serious matters in such as the deaths of these boyfriends very flippantly sort of makes it feel kind of it sort of yanks us away from this sense of groundedness. But I do want to say, however, the earlier I mentioned that this novel also kind of talked about the past of Ayola and Korede. Now, those portions of this book are not taken, are not described flippantly, which is sort of interesting, because it was already there and I sort of noticed it earlier, but then it didn't really register in my head up until the moment I'm talking about these things right now. So not everything in this book are described flippantly. So the history of these characters are sort of described in a more serious way, and you could almost see the kind of respect that it has for these portions of the story, the backstory of these characters, and it lends a rather some kind of gravity towards the issue, the social issue that it wants to comment on. So I think that's really nice. Do I think that this book should be longer? Sometimes when I think about it, the characters, we don't exactly know these characters the way that we know characters in a family saga, for example. We don't know many of the details of what they really think about, like a really complex kind of character development. There are character developments in here, but I think that within the confines of the plot of this book, everything that we need to know about these characters, and also everything that we need to know about what happens in this book are sufficiently given to us. And I feel that the length is quite appropriate, also considering the fact that it does feel somewhat like a fairy tale of sorts. It wouldn't work really if the book is longer, because that would probably mean that usually longer books means more specificity. It would mean more in touch with reality. And I think that books that have tones that are kind of flippant and just very not very but fairly otherworldly, shorter length is much more appropriate. So I do think that the length of this book is quite good. So yeah, those are the main things I wanted to talk about My Sister the Serial Killer. Have you read this book, and what did you think about it? Are you interested in reading this book? Because if you are interested in reading this book, and if you are not feeling squeamish about the bloody and gory elements that I just mentioned earlier, I do recommend you to try this book. So yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think about this book. Are you interested in reading it? And anything else that you want to say? And I'll see you again in a different video. So until then, take care. Thanks for watching. And bye.